Hi, I'm Jason.
And I'm Jack.
Welcome to today's episode of Success in the Field. This week we're going to be exploring buying habits, what they are, how they've changed, and how businesses can adapt to them. I think it's fair to say that the way in which people buy things have changed. And I don't just mean that we buy more online, I mean our attitude towards buying has changed. The way in which we go about it and what we expect from the companies we buy from is different from a few years ago.
Definitely. I mean, when was the last time you opened a newspaper and called a plumbing company to fix your leaky tap? My guess is never. And it's happening in every industry, not just retail, leisure, but it's something that we're seeing ourselves. Let me give you a more concrete example. So last year we took a look at our website data and we noticed that even if most of the traffic came during daytime, there was still a sizable chunk of people, but I think about 25%, who visited in the evening or during the night, early in the morning, who spent a good amount of time on the website. So it wasn't just some random Google traffic. People were actually looking for help. The problem is that we're only open 9 till 5. So those 25% couldn't reach us then and there. And probably by the next day, they'd just forgotten us.
Yeah, and there's not always the case, though. People didn't used to use their smartphones and laptops in the middle of the night looking for ways to improve their business.
Exactly. So we needed a tool that worked 24/7 because now we live in this 24/7 world. So we introduced Drift, which is this online chat tool that we've now got. And it allows customers to just go online, book their own meetings with the sales team directly. It means they don't have to pick up the phone and speak to someone. So it means without Drift, we would have missed out on possibly 25% of new business.
Yeah, more than covering the cost of paying for Drift and implementing it.
Absolutely. So we can all agree that buying habits have changed, but which habits exactly?
People don't like calling companies anymore. They don't like, without prior knowledge, they're nervous about calling and ultimately end up messaging or texting. And if you've ever worked with a customer who texts or WhatsApp you for information, then you can appreciate this. The fact is there are now multiple buying journeys rather than just the customer finding you, say, in a newspaper or Yellow Pages and calling you. And there's a range of different ways they're going to learn about your business. They're going to educate themselves on the problem, and they're going to get more clued up by the time they actually speak to you, because people don't like to feel pressured. And choosing a journey that lets them speak with someone only once they feel confident in what you offer and how much you're likely to charge is sort of the new norm. And that's why website chat solutions have been on the rise over the last few years.
So we've seen the way that buying habits are changing, how they're researching more online and communicating differently, but does it really matter? I mean, I speak to clients every day, some who seem to recognize these changes and some who don't. They all seem to be doing pretty well. So why not just keep moving the same way? Why do we always have to change?
I think any business that thinks like that is ultimately going to struggle. Maybe not tomorrow, but eventually they're just going to catch up with them. Businesses that don't adapt usually die. A major consequence of this is like the proliferation of companies like Boxed, is a tech company who is trying to disrupt the boiler installation market. And the key to their model is convenience and refined user journeys that speak to modern consumers.
Yeah, very true. I mean, there's a company right now on our deal board who we're speaking to who have a really similar model to that as well. We're definitely seeing this model come up more and more.
There's definitely others as well, and I know I've spoken to them. They're always far more focused on the convenience of buying and that lovely user journey on their website or when the engineer turns up or whatever it might be, and paying attention to every step of that buying process.
Yeah, true. I mean, I can think of a number of times, even where I was asked to pay a little bit extra, I would, just for the convenience of it. I mean, this is why next day delivery is so popular.
Yeah, agree. People think it's because Box is cheaper, but that's only one factor, and it's not always true. One thing that sets it apart is the convenience and the overall experience. The website looks amazing, and it guides you very clearly to the information that you want, so you're not wasting time. And when you're in a rush, it just sort of makes sense. The chances are you're probably panicking, you've got no hot water, your boiler's broken, and therefore you're less forgiving about bad or complicated user journeys in the overall experience.
You mentioned the quality of work and for how some people it's not the most important factor, but it must still rank pretty high up there, right? I mean, you wouldn't hire someone who isn't capable of fixing your issue. How can you trust a tradesman that you've never met?
Online reviews are quite a funny thing these days, right? There's so many of them. How many times do you check TripAdvisor looking for an amazing hotel? It's got 4.9 stars, but you focus entirely on the one review that's got 1 star, and you read it over and over again, and you may even discount that hotel entirely. And I think one of the mistakes tradespeople are making is that they're just focusing entirely on these review platforms as the only way to build trust. And I think that's really difficult because you're then competing with every other tradesperson on those review sites. We've all seen them, Checker Trade and Which and all this sort of stuff, reviews.com. They're amazing platforms, but at some point when you've got a good bank of reviews on there, you need to be thinking about other ways to create, trust with your consumers. I had an amazing example of a guy, he was an electrician, and I won't give his name away, but he created these little videos. And they were super simple videos, using a smartphone. And what was different about him compared to some of the others that I've seen trying to do something similar to this is it was quite an honest account of a job. So he was filming himself, talking about, say, a new rewire he was doing at someone's house, and then showing you sort of a video of the work being done. And you could see his guys doing it. You could see, the mess. And you could see the good bits, the really tidy bits that they'd worked on. And I think that was quite powerful in terms of creating trust, because you could almost visually and virtually meet him and his team, and you could actually see some of the work he was doing. Compare that to some of the examples I've seen otherwise, where people are posting perfect pictures of work done, perfect pipe work and perfect installations. I think that whilst that shows that you're competent, it doesn't necessarily build trust because it's not necessarily personal. And people trust people, they don't trust companies and organizations.
Yeah, I think what you just highlighted there is that there's so many different ways to build trust. It's not just about reviews. I think it's definitely something we can cover in a future episode.
I think there's one more major thing, though, that we're missing, which is payments.
Yeah, definitely. I know what you mean. I think we've got so used to paying companies online for services like Amazon and Booking.com when you go on holiday. But it's so interesting that not many clients and field service companies in general insist that they get paid before a service is booked.
Yeah, I had my barbecue cleaned recently, and I hate cleaning it. Every year I sit down, I spend half a day or a whole day trying to clean this thing, scrubbing it down, cutting my hands up, and at the end of the day, I end up with half a clean barbecue because it never gets finished. So this year, I decided I'd give up and just get someone in to do it. So I went online. I found a company on Google. I found a time slot for the next day. I paid online. The guy turned up. He cleaned the barbecue and he left. It was so very simple. And I find it strange when clients tell me that they're struggling with debt, especially like small time debt of under £150, and yet they still insist on getting paid after the job is done. Which is crazy. If we're so used to it, why aren't they considering a different way of working?
Yeah, and I guess we can't talk for everyone, but it feels like as a customer, as a consumer, we're just trained to pay by card.
Yeah, and like whether you're renting a car, whether you're booking a hotel, buying from Tesco, they all insist you pay up front. I think clients just aren't taking advantage of this change in buying habit.
So there you have it. Today we've touched on buying habits and we've looked at the multiple customer journeys users embark on. Don't neglect them or pressure the customer. The massive shift towards convenience buying, what we can learn from this habit. Trust, the murky waters of online reviews, and finally payments, offering as many options as possible and that paying upfront is not a bad thing. Jason, anything from your end?
My main takeaway is that customers' buying habits are changing. We've talked about that. And you'll be naturally seeing these day to day when you're working with customers, and your team will be working with customers. So try and capitalize on those things you're seeing. Try and capitalize on those changes. Whether that's introducing a new payment workflow where you get paid up front, or anything else that seems to make sense for your business. Talk to your team as they're going to spot these buying habits, these change in buying habits on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think following on from that, something I can't tell people enough is that you have to put yourself in your customer's shoes. and imagine you're buying from your own company. What would you change and what would you keep the same?
Thanks for joining us for episode 4 in the Success in the Field series. As always, we'd like to hear your thoughts. What changes have you seen? What changes are you seeing now? And how has that affected your business?
Feel free to share this video across your network as well. You can find us on YouTube and LinkedIn by just searching for Commusoft. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.